Hello, bookworms. For those of you who are returning, welcome back to Book Hangover Club. And for those of you who are discovering my channel for the very first time, welcome to the Book Hangover Club, where the only cure is another great book. In today's video, we are going to be getting into a specific type of book trope. I can't say that this one is necessarily my favorite, but I would say that it's one that I don't really mind reading if, of course, it's done well. In today's video, we are going to be getting into the stepbrother trope. I'm going to be recommending books that I think the trope was done well, and I'm also going to be mentioning some books where it just really fell flat for me, which is kind of new because I feel like all of the videos I've done so far are, me recommending these 5-star reads. Definitely interested to kind of delve into these books that I didn't necessarily like and why. With that being said, sit back, relax, grab a snack. I do not have any snacks. It is currently 1 o'clock in the morning, but I feel like ranting, so let's get into it. The first book recommendation is Thunderstruck by Beth Bolden. I actually finished this book recently. I think it just kind of came out. I've actually read a lot of Beth's books. I like that she is not afraid to delve into different sports. She's got some hockey romance novels, hockey romance book series, as well as football. She has a whole world of football. I don't know how many series there are specifically, but I know each series kind of covers one football team. And then I think she also has some baseball as well. I do love that she is not afraid to venture into different sports. There are other sports outside of hockey. I feel like there's so many hockey romance novels, as well as football too. But yes, Thunderstruck by Beth Bolden. This was Stepbrothers to Lovers done well. One MC was 18 and the other was 16 when their parents kind of got married. They end up playing on the same football team and living together, so it's kind of a forced proximity as well. Stepbrothers to Lovers and a forbidden romance. I thought this book was really good. It's one of the best books I've read under this specific trope. I'm not sure what it was about the characters, but I really love the characters. I love the two MCs. It just felt very rewarding when they finally got together. Beth has an amazing writing style. It's very easy to get into. You kind of get tidbits of the other characters in the books that came out previously, and that was nice because I feel like I love all of the characters in all of the book series. I mean, I've read all of them. This is a bit of a spoiler, but one MC kind of had feelings for the other MC before he found out that his mom was going to marry that other MC's dad, and that kind of just not necessarily put a halt on how he was feeling. If anything, it just made him kind of distance himself from the family, which wasn't hard because he was graduating when his mom got married to his stepfather and he was going off to college anyway, so it wasn't really hard for him to distance himself. He was kind of harboring those feelings since he was 18 into present day of the book. It was really interesting getting to see the dynamics of both characters. When the characters are introduced, it kind of comes off as a grumpy sunshine type of dynamic, but as you kind of get to know the characters, you kind of realize that the grumpy character really isn't all that grumpy, and the sunshine character, I wouldn't say really isn't all that much of a sunshine character. Actually, I would say that. I don't think he was really much of a sunshine character. I think he was just young, a little bit naive, and just came off as someone who was very eager because they were excited to have a brother, especially being like an only child, as well as this person who's supposed to be your brother is somebody who you've kind of been looking up to because they're doing what it is that you want to do, playing football and playing the same position as you and kind of excelling in that position. He kind of looked up to him. So I wouldn't say he was much of a sunshine character per se. I think it kind of presented itself that way, but I don't really think that's who he was. He definitely was much more quiet and a little bit introverted, I would say. But he was also like a dog with a bone. He just kind of like forced you to face yourself. That's something his love interests kind of needed. They both pushed each other, one more so than the other. I'd say I really love the dynamic. Definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. I don't know if I would say it's a slow burn. I think I would say it's more of a medium burn. As with most books that I read, if I love both of the characters, then the spice feels earned. This book was no different. I love Beth's writing style. Like I said, I've read probably, I don't want to say I've read all her books, but I've read all of the football books. I've read all of the hockey books. And I think I read the one that was about baseball. This is definitely one of my go-to authors when I want a book that is going to be very well written. There's a high likelihood that I'm going to fall in love with the characters, and overall the book is just going to make sense as far as pacing goes. Then, Beth Bolden is an author. Her books, to find one that I haven't read yet, and I'll just jump right into it. And I think these books can be read as a standalone, with the exception of the series that this specific book is attached to. I don't think I read any of them in order. Overall, I think this is a book that does, the specific trope very well. It's not weird, it's not awkward. This is a book that I would highly recommend. Next on my list is Hollow by M.L. Burns. Now, this is the first book by this author that I've ever read. I can't say that I'm familiar with their work, so I didn't really know what to expect going into the book. I believe this is supposed to be a dark romance. And this book follows two stepbrothers who have kind of had feelings for each other since they were in high school. And maybe even a little bit before that as well. But just the forbidden nature of their feelings and their relationship I wouldn't even say relationship, but just them wanting to be together kind of drove them apart. They end up coming back together due to the death of their parents. And when they end up coming back together, they're pretty much having to navigate that, as well as navigate those feelings that they've had for each other that never really went away. If I'm being honest, I would say this book I would rate it a 3 out of 5. I did love the way that the characters kind of navigated certain aspects of their mental health. What didn't quite work for me, I would say, is I don't know, I just didn't really feel much of a connection to the characters. And I felt, oftentimes that the story or the plot just felt like it kept deviating from what the book was supposed to be about. And I honestly kind of blame that on the introduction of all of these side characters who, I mean, honestly, I can't say that they didn't add anything to the storyline, but I just felt like they were too incorporated into the story, and it just kind of made the plot and made the story not make sense, and honestly just left me confused at times about what was going on or who these people were. And I get this is supposed to be like a dark romance, but I just kind of felt like it didn't translate that way for me. I think one of the main characters was supposed to be like this brooding, grumpy, only has like a soft spot for the other main character, or his family, or like the people that he loves, but he's like very protective and stuff like that. I don't know, I just felt like oftentimes the darkness of the character just fell flat for me. It wasn't believable, but I would urge everyone to kind of read the book themselves and form their own opinion. This didn't work for me, but it might work for someone else. I loved that both characters really relied on each other to kind of get through the things that they were going through mentally, and it's a pretty spicy book. Spice for me is secondary to how I feel about the characters or how much I love the story overall or the writing of the book. So I mean, the spice is there. I didn't really feel much of a connection to the characters. I'd rate it a 3 out of 3 on spice. The stepbrother trope wasn't weird or done in a uncomfortable way. Like I said, I just think this book didn't work for me, but read it and form your own opinion. Next on my list is Man On by Rebecca Raitt. This book follows, again, two stepbrothers. One of them was born in a cult, Eventually, the mother is able to get custody of her son when the mom is able to kind of get her son back, and he is kind of thrown into this dynamic where she has married this man who also has a son. The biggest thing I loved about this book is the fact that it was a sports romance novel, but the sport was not hockey, and secondly, the sport was not football. I feel like when it comes to sports romances, it's either hockey, football. Third, I would say, is probably like basketball, but there are not a lot of like soccer, wrestling, tennis. Like, I'm sure there are some out there, but in comparison to how many hockey romances or football romances there is no comparison. Like, there is just a crazy amount of hockey and football romances. So that's something that I loved. I thought that was kind of refreshing to get a soccer romance. Not that I know anything about soccer, it's a different sport. I also loved the dynamic of both characters. The one character who grew up in a cult is essentially kind of navigating life outside of that and just having to, come to terms with the things that happened to him, or the things that he was introduced to, or the things that, just happened around him, and then just kind of being thrusted into this new world where there are no restraints. And obviously, I feel like that goes unsaid. Like, obviously, there are rules that we all in society have to live by, but in comparison to being born in a cult, I cannot imagine that you have much freedom. So it was kind of nice seeing him having to like navigate his newfound freedom and building a relationship with a mother that she gave birth to him. She left the cult when he was essentially a baby, and by the time she gets him back, he is, I'm gonna say, damn near a teenager. She missed a lot of important aspects of his life. Yes, she is his mom, but I would imagine that it didn't really feel that way for him. So it's like he's going from one environment that's restrictive and that's controlling, but it's familiar. And they're taking him from that environment and putting him into a new environment with people he doesn't know. I just loved how, by the end of the book, the main character felt free. Obviously, there's more work to be done, but I feel like they kind of came to terms with, this major aspect of their life played a really big role into who it is that they became. It just kind of felt like by the end of this book, this person was determined to get their identity back, kind of came to terms with what it is that happened to them, but understood that, this is the environment that I grew up in. This is what I was taught. This was what I was brainwashed into believing, but I can unlearn all of these things. This trauma doesn't define who I am as a person, and I don't have to navigate life as this traumatized person. It's okay for me to get my identity back and take my power back from these people who stole it from me. It was also nice seeing, these two characters who essentially kind of started off as enemies, although I don't really feel like enemies is the right word. I wouldn't even say they were enemies. I think it was just misplaced attraction on top of other beliefs. So I wouldn't say they were really enemies. I feel like it was just misplaced attraction, kind of just having to express it in a different way. But I really loved getting to see them finally get together and acknowledge their feelings, become a team by the end of it, and one MC taking the other MC's issues and making it his own, kind of just determined to help this person that he loved navigate the difficulty of what it is that he was going through. One MC was definitely, I don't want to say stubborn. I think stubborn is the wrong word. Just one of those very persistent, like just one of those people who will not quit until they get what it is that they want, and they'll just continue to push you. Not in a overbearing or in a someone is coercing you. I don't even know if I said that word right. I don't know why I can't say that word. But not in the way that someone is like trying to convince you to do something that you don't want to do. It was more so like encouraging you to do something that you do want to do, but your mind is telling you that it's wrong and you can't have that, you can't want that, you can't do that. So he was kind of persistent in that way. His persistence forced the other MC to open up and face things a little bit sooner than he may have been prepared to. Really good book. I like this book a lot. And of course, as someone who comes from a very heavily religious background, I mean, pastor's kid, my dad was a pastor, or my dad is a pastor. You know, a little bit of like that cult mindset, I don't know, was definitely giving me like PTSD a little bit and kind of just reminding me of my own upbringing. I saw a lot of my own trauma reflected in one of the characters. That's definitely something that made me love the book as well. The only negative thing I would have to say about this book, I think some of the spicy aspects of the book kind of became repetitive. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain without it being, I don't want to get too graphic and then the video become not meant for certain adults either. So we'll just say that some of the smut at the beginning was very repetitive, and it kind of just was just, I don't know, some of it kind of fell flat because of the repetitiveness of it. If you read the book, maybe you'll understand what it is that I'm trying to say. My favorite character was obviously, I would say probably the character who grew up in a cult. I actually kind of like not saying when I'm describing the characters and the dynamics and what it is that I loved, or just like interpreting what it is that I felt about either character. I actually like not mentioning names. I feel like this one is going to be pretty obvious if you read the book. Like not mentioning names because basically I just want you to form your own opinion. I want you to read the book and not go into it with this preconceived notion of who these characters are based off of what it is that I had to say. I want you to give them a fair chance, and I also want you to give the book a fair chance. You know, maybe by the end of it, you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, or maybe you won't, but I just don't want to influence anybody in that way. And I think it's kind of fun to kind of let you guys read the books that I recommend for yourself, just in case you come to the same conclusion as me. Kind of be like a little light bulb moment. Oh, okay, I understand now what Rachel was saying. I understand why she said what she said. That makes sense. I know I said some of the spice was repetitive, but this book is very spicy. I've read a ton of Rebecca Wraith's work, and I'm not surprised that I like this book. I usually like most of her books. I would rate this book a 4 out of 5. Alright, bookworms, that is all I had for this video. I actually decided to kind of split this video into 2 parts because I feel like part 1 is kind of long. I didn't really think that I had much to say when it came to this, but as soon as I started talking, I just kept going and going and going. I'm not a book reviewer. I am a professional ranter. But yeah, that is it for part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 because I do have 3 more book recommendations that fall within this specific book trope. So keep an eye out for that. As always, drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys thought about the books that I recommended. Have you read any of these books? Will you read any of these books? Also drop down and recommend any books that fall within this specific trope that you've read that you think is really good and that you would like me to read. Don't mind getting book recommendations from you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't say that I'll read every book that is recommended to me. If it's really good, like if you think it's a 5-star read, definitely recommend it. If the plot is subpar and every other page is just smut and spiciness, still recommend it. I'll read what it's about and make my decision. If you would like to join the Book Hangover Club, please feel free to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you are privy to when I post my next video, and keep an eye out for part 2. I will catch you guys in the next one.